Welcome into another edition of The Session with Londa and David. My name is David Austin, and as always, sitting across from me with this really cool necklace thing and jacket is my beautiful bride, Londa Sherwood Austin, and wow!
As always, no one cares.
I care.
No one but you cares.
Do you care?
Well, of course I do.
Well, then that's two. There
and
may
it's
be
our
more.
show. So.
That's exactly right. And there may be more we don't know. How could we know? I've actually got, it's funny that you say that. I've actually gotten some pretty positive reviews about how you and I have chemistry on screen together, even though it's a tiny screen on a cell phone. But a lot of people tell me wonderful things about our chemistry. A lot of people.
Well,
it's quantifiable. So saying no one cares is untrue. People do care.
Well, continue gushing then, I guess.
There you
I don't
go.
know what to tell you.
I super care. And what is that? Why is it doing that? Is there something pressing the cord? There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, and we're not trying to change the name of that.
Technical difficulties in the studio today.
Yeah, now that's just plus. That hard
go.
drive is now just plus. And that's kind of cool.
Fantastic.
That's my plus.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, indeed. Okay, we've gotten the introduction. The Session with Londa and David is a program that talks about customer service, that wants you to improve your business through small changes, incremental changes. And one thing that is a paradigm shift for a lot of people is the thought that they should help other businesses grow as part of their business.
For sure.
And I want to talk about that on today's episode.
Okay, well, I would love to talk about that. First, would you mind if I told people a little bit more about what we do
I don't mind that at all.
Consulting company?
I would love that.
And it's fresh in my head to go into a little bit more detail about it, because I was just asked this morning, okay, you grow businesses, but what do you do? And I thought that was a great question.
That is a great question.
And so the way that I explained it to him is I said, you think of it like this, like you're going in for your annual medical checkup, like your wellness check. They run some tests. They talk to you about your current lifestyle. They talk to you about maybe where you want your health or your life to be, right? So they get the diagnostics basically. And that's kind of very similar to what we do with a business. I want to look at their current practices.
Right.
I want to look at their financials. I want to look at what they're doing now, what they've done in the past, what they're doing now, and what their vision is for the future. And then my unique ability kind of lies in being able to see the things inside those elements that other people miss.
Right.
Because I'm not looking to make sweeping changes in a business. It's typically not necessary to make big, huge, sweeping changes. And I think that's what keeps a lot of people from reaching out to someone like us, is because they think, well, they're going to change everything we do. No. We're gonna find those little pockets, those little places that need to be shifted inside their current practices, inside, for instance, their presentation, their first impressions, their customer service, their sales process, maybe, and all of that's, within all that. And then walk alongside them and help them develop those things that need to be shifted and implement those so that we're improving their efficiency, increasing their production.
Yes.
And bottom line, increasing profits.
Okay. So we just heard what the business does. A lot of people know us as a realtor and as a mortgage lender.
Right, which we do.
Absolutely. Some people know us as bi-coastal moguls, meaning we travel a lot and we're homes on both coasts. We're talking specifically about our Florida-based business called Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants.
Correct.
Let me say that name one more time. Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. And the reason I'm saying it like that is because our branding experts have been working on our marketing and our branding, and we started as Sherwood Austin Business Growth Experts, which is a long title.
It's a lot of words,
name.
and everything's been a little bit wet cement, as
Correct.
it were.
Correct.
And you were saying some people also know me as being a life and business coach for the last 20 years.
Yep.
And did a long time. For about 9 years, I was known online as the mom coach. Right. And interestingly enough, the skills that I taught in all those years to other moms were the same things that I do in business.
Well, and it's relevant, right? We were talking on one of our recent podcasts about how mothers are salespeople, and they're always selling the kids on things they need the kids to do, like brush their teeth or go to bed. And life is easier if you're a natural salesperson, if you're a mom.
Maybe.
And when you were writing your book and teaching as the mom coach, you were using sales techniques.
Yeah, it was a lot of the same kind of techniques, and the end result was the same. Improve their efficiency, increase the production, the things that are getting done,
right?
And then improving the profitability there's a lot of different aspects to that.
Well, there absolutely are.
It giving a mom more time and more money, teaching her how to do that, how to create more time and more money, always a win. So it's the same principle. It's just applied a little bit differently. So to home, to business, to all kinds of things.
Well, and it's really interesting when you look at businesses, many people don't think about the expenses in a business.
Right.
When they go to start a business, it's like a wake-up call to think about the actual cost of running business for many, many, many entrepreneurs.
And the other thing is they don't realize how small shifts can increase their profits. For instance, and we were talking with our friend Michael from Trans World, who's a business broker.
Yes.
And he brought up this point, and it is something that I've shared with business owners in the past. Rather than billing monthly, you bill every 4 weeks.
I got to tell you, that was the coolest conversation I've ever had when he and I were talking about that and the light bulb went on.
Right.
Think about this. If you take the number of weeks in a year and divide them by 4, because everybody just thinks, 4 weeks in a month. That's average, right? If you divide 52 by 4, 13 is the answer.
That's right. So you just gained yourself another month of profits.
That's exactly right. And not billing every 4 weeks. You're setting money on fire.
You really are. And so it's that's what I'm talking about. It's those little shifts that need to happen.
Well, think of every landlord. I know typically it's by the month. Maybe it shouldn't be.
Yep.
Maybe it should be every 4 weeks. Why not?
We typically, your average employee gets paid every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks. So it's kind of, it's kind of how economics works, I guess, what I'm saying. But
well, my favorite kind of jobs are the ones where people get paid on Friday. You get paid weekly. There are several jobs like that. The trades are all like that, right? So I love that. Those people it'd be a much easier concept for someone who's like a journeyman lineman who's getting paid at the end of the week. I think it's an easy concept
for anybody. Everybody gets that every 4 weeks.
Every 4 weeks.
Done.
Genius.
So, and we wouldn't be having this discussion if we hadn't been networking with our buddy Michael, who reminded me about that, and we were talking about it, and back to networking.
And now we're back to networking, and I love that, and I do want to talk about that. You've been visiting a chapter of BNI here in Lakeland, representing Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants,
right?
For the last 2 or 3 weeks, and now it's put up or shut up, right? So you're now having to fill out the application, join the BNI, again, not as a realtor, but as a
No, not as a realtor.
as
no.
a business growth
I've been in a
expert.
BNI group as a realtor
Right.
in Washington State,
Right.
but here in Florida, no, it says our business.
Right. That's
So.
exciting.
It is.
So
it's very exciting. So
that's what makes me want to talk about the importance of networking in business, because I'm a big believer in BNI specifically, and I was in a BNI group, and I was the education coordinator for a long time in that group.
And for those who don't know, BNI is Business Network International.
Correct. That's exactly right.
Founded by Ivan Meisner.
That's right.
Based on the principle of a book he wrote called Giver's Gain.
And that to me is absolutely true.
Tell us about Giver's Gain so people can understand. If they haven't heard.
I love the concept, right? If your focus, there's more in there. You can take a sip of it. It's not a ton.
I just stole his coffee from across the table and it's almost gone.
And here's how crazy this is. She's upset that my coffee is almost gone.
Whatever.
Not her coffee, my coffee. But what's mine is
share.
yours. We
There you
share.
go.
You can have as much of this as you want. There's 3 good sips in there.
All right.
It's yours now. Okay. So, Giver's Gain is a great philosophy. It is in business. If you help people by giving them leads or connecting them to others, your business will grow by default, because if you give information and time, other people will do the same thing.
Right. It's all about growing everyone's business.
That's exactly
in the
right.
group.
And it's really cool because most people have a problem talking about who they are and what they do. However, they're much happier to talk about who someone else they know is and what they do.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and that's very, very true.
Yes.
Back to personalities, which we talk a lot about and offer a workshop on, how it relates to business, but or a seminar.
Right.
And it really has a lot to do with personality. And and it's just, I don't know if it's cultural. I don't know what it is, that it's so much easier to talk up somebody else than yourself.
Right.
So I love the Giver's Gain philosophy and building someone else's business and giving them as many referrals as I possibly can.
Right.
Just seems like second nature to me.
Right.
I really, really like it. And I, of course, because of what we do, I love to see businesses grow. I want them to be successful. Back to something I've mentioned before many times, thriving economies make thriving communities, thriving families. Like, it's all interconnected. So I get really excited about that. I think that BNI is a great networking organization because they have standards of practice. So you have to meet certain numbers. You have to give a certain number of referrals.
Right.
You have to, have a visitor to the group at least once a month on average. You have to meet with the people in your group weekly, not everyone, but, 1 or 2 people each week for what they call a one-to-one, where you sit down and it's not just we're hanging out and having coffee and, shooting the shit. I'm finding out who's your ideal client and who do I know that I can send your way. And it's pretty in-depth when you follow the system. And, of course, I love systems. So
that I think is why you like BNI so much, because you are a systems person, and following a system works, right? It's a very interesting story that I've told before to you. I don't know if I've told it on the air, but I bought a Scott fence from Scott Fence in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And it was a Saturday morning, and it was like 6:30 in the morning, and they came the day before and set the posts in concrete, It was a wooden fence with an automated gate. So when I pulled onto the property, I could open the gate, because in Louisiana, a lot of places have long driveways and carports behind the house instead of garages, which are pretty common in the Pacific Northwest and a big deal there. They are not a big deal in Florida right now, though, but I'm getting off track. That's neither here nor there. So 6:30 in the morning, I heard a truck backing down my driveway. Boop, boop, boop. And I look, and it's a big rig with a flatbed and all kinds of lumber on it.
And a crew.
And a crew of 3 guys.
3.
3 guys.
Okay.
And they jumped out of the truck. They started coming, and I was making coffee, and I thought, well, this is going to be great. I'm going to have to go tell Sarah that they're here, and it's going to be a distraction, and I might get in trouble. Anyway, I made the coffee. I went back there. I said, hey, the guys are here doing the fence. It's going to be noisy. Sorry about that. I know it's early. And we had our coffee. And
your kid's mom.
That's exactly
right. We should
right.
clarify, in case this is the first podcast anyone's ever listened to, Sarah is your kid's mom.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, we had our coffee. 30 minutes, maybe 40 at the most passes, right? And we could hear movement in the backyard and bop, 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 And I go out to get more coffee. And when I'm in the kitchen, I'm confused because the truck that was just right by the window the last time I was in the kitchen is gone. Fully gone. And then I think, great, now they're going to have to come back. This is going to be ridiculous. And then I look out into the backyard, and the entire yard fully fenced, 3/8 of an acre, 0.375 of an acre, fully fenced in that much time, in less than 40 minutes, for sure less than 40 minutes. So I walk out back and I look, and it smells like fresh pine or whatever the wood they used was, and it was beautiful, beautiful. I walk back in. I tell Sarah they're gone. Oh, my God, I can't believe how awesome it is. So Monday morning at the crack of dawn, because I know those Scott brothers get up early, I call Forrest Scott, and I say, Forrest, they were here for half an hour, and they're gone. And I said, I don't even understand how that's possible. And he said, well, anybody can build a fence, but somebody with a system can build a fence in half an hour.
Wow.
And 3 little guys, not big guys, not big, strong, giant men, 3 little guys, like under 6 feet tall, built an entire yard of fence in half an hour because they had a system. Every board was numbered. Everything was pre-cut.
Right.
Every screw went in a specific
Here's where
hole.
business people fall down.
Systems.
In my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
They don't follow a system.
That's right.
And the system that they're following was not developed for them.
Right.
And that's another thing that I've done over the years that's been really unique. My systems are tailored to the personality, the lifestyle, the person or the business. So because I've had people ask me, are you going to write another book? No, probably not.
I bet you do.
In this arena, because, and maybe I will. I don't know. I really want to.
I bet you do.
Anyway,
I bet you do.
But because it's so
Can I hit pause for a second?
specific and tailored to each company and each person.
I want to hit pause just for a second.
Okay.
Because I want to
wanna
say,
finish a point.
you can.
Can we circle back?
We absolutely can circle back.
I'll forget it.
The reason you just said you probably won't write another book, because if you say out loud you're going to write another book, that's what you will do until it's written. I believe that to be true, and that's why you didn't say, I'm going to write another book.
Okay.
You are going to write another book because
We'll
you love
see.
it.
We'll see.
And you're a great writer.
Thank you.
It's true. Okay,
you.
let's circle back.
So you can have a system. I mean, you can go to sales training events in every city
Right.
in America, right? You can find a sales training event, and you can go to some, big sales guru, and they're all selling their systems.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm a big fan of that. Find a system and follow it. Here's what happens, though. The majority of people purchase the system.
Right.
They try, but they can't follow it. And it's because they don't know how to shift,
Right.
make shifts in the system so it works for them,
Right.
for their personality, for their lifestyle, for instance, the plot your time in 15-minute increments.
Yep.
That's one system that is taught at some trainings.
Right.
That you track your time and you book it out in 15-minute spots from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay.
Okay? That system works really well for one personality type. but all 4 personalities will buy it at the seminar because they're hyped up about
I
it.
gotcha.
But then they get it home and it's overwhelming, or it feels impossible, or they do it for, there's one personality type that is famous for doing something for a few days or maybe even a couple of weeks and then it's gone. And it's just, you have to have a system that works for you.
Right.
So, that's something I specialize in and have for years and years.
And it's really cool how you can tell, and it's all science, right? It's a little bit of art, but it's science that helps you understand exactly what personality type you're dealing with. And that's cool.
Well,
and then you apply the art to make it work for them.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting.
They have a primary personality traits, and then they have secondary personality traits. And then there's the whole, sometimes all of it goes out the window, depending on the circumstance or all of it. And then you start getting into like the mental health aspect of it. Like it can get really complicated, but because these are things I've studied and worked in my whole life, it makes me a really unique trainer.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And I love it.
Yeah.
When a light bulb clicks for somebody and all of a sudden they take off running and they don't need my services anymore is one of the most, it's like the happiest time for me. I'm always trying to work myself out of a job when I work with a client.
Right.
Because I want them up and running and on their own.
And I think that's a core difference between you and I personality wise. I want to know that person forever. I don't want to get in and out.
Oh, I do. I want to know them forever because I want to follow their success and be there to, help if they hit a roadblock.
Right.
It's not like I want to,
that's not what I mean.
show up and then disappear and never talk to them again.
No, right. But like the work yourself out of a job.
Yeah.
I want to work myself into a relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
And and
we are a little different that way. I don't want to go to their family barbecues
and
necessarily.
I totally do.
Yeah.
It's weird, right?
Well, I think we're a good match that way because I keep you from getting so engrossed in the relationship side of it that we don't have time for anything because we're just going to all these social engagements.
That's exactly right.
And you keep me from getting too structured and because I can pretty quickly like put up walls and just be done with something or someone and move on to the next thing. And so I think we're a good balance that way.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah. I keep us focused on the business. You keep us focused on the relationship, and it's kind of a perfect dynamic.
And it's great and works out wonderfully. I love that.
People seem to like it. People who work with us really, really like it.
And it's easy
They're
because
happy, they get results.
Yep. And it plays to both of our strengths so well.
Right.
I've heard salespeople say these words to me and I just don't understand it. It doesn't work in my head. You get it because you understand the personality types better than probably most people. When somebody says, "Oh, I just hate people," and you're in sales, I just don't understand that as a life condition because I love people.
Well,
I want to know all the things and do all the stuff.
What they're really saying is they're frustrated with the complications that people bring.
And another thing that people say that I can't understand is I don't know how much longer I can do this. I don't like kissing so much ass. And that is not even a thought of mine because I genuinely love getting to know people.
Right.
So there's no such thing to me as ass kissing.
Right.
Because I'm always in a relationship place of building a relationship, right?
Right.
And
you don't end relationships either.
That's true.
You just don't.
That's right.
It's not in your DNA to walk away ever for any reason, even if maybe you should. Because some relationships are, unhealthy. It's okay to walk away, but it's just not in you to do that.
Well, yeah, because
which is nice.
Well, it's nice to a point, right? But it's sad for me when a relationship should come to an end because I don't like that. I like to be there to make other people feel good and be there.
Personality, for sure. The difference in our personalities.
That's exactly right.
What other kind of ways have you found over the years or with clients that you've worked with for networking that have really worked well. We talked about BNI, some other maybe actual organizations.
Well, the Chamber of Commerce is always a really, really good resource for business networking. I've always been a fan of the Chamber of Commerce.
Me too.
The one in the Tri-Cities is a spectacular group of people, and I love everybody there. And we ran into the president of the Chamber of Commerce at Fat Olives the last time we were there, and that was great.
That was really fun.
Yep, and I found out that her daughter, who's a friend of mine, is her daughter. You had
never put it together.
I had never put the two together.
Right. So now you have more networking.
And have been Facebook friends for a long time with them and still never put it together.
Right.
I just thought, oh, she's pretty interested in the chamber.
Right.
Her mom's the president. That's why.
There's also, Chamber of Commerce, there's always networking groups who didn't like or couldn't work within the structure of BNI, and so they formed their own unofficial referral group.
Yes.
There's always those in every town.
Every town has a mastermind group where a lender, a realtor, an insurance guy, a home inspector, an appraiser, they're all buddies and they all get together for coffee on Tuesday morning somewhere and share leads and ideas. I think those are great. Yeah, they're very similar to BNI, but they're informal.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and again, it goes back to personality. Some people don't work well within that structure. And so go start your own. Who cares? I mean, it really doesn't matter as long as when you're getting together, you're actually doing business. And that's the thing that you have to be careful of, is it doesn't become a social event. It needs to be business focused. And there's a lot of aspects to that. So, there's also small business groups. There's also, I know this because of my gender, there's like small business women
in business.
And there's women in business group, and there's women helping women group. There's all kinds of things like that. And the way you find out about these is you just start asking people.
Right.
So that's one way to find out, is just start asking, hey, do you know of any kind of business networking group that I can get involved with? And because people are always wanting to add to the group and grow the group. And here's a tip. If they don't want to add to the group and grow the group, run.
Yeah.
Because they've become a clique.
Right.
And there's going to be some unhealthy aspects to that. Oh, no, we don't let anybody else in this group.
Yes.
That's not healthy. You want someone that's focused on growth and that is open-minded and willing to have other people come in. You know, they're not worried about upsetting the apple cart or any of that kind of garbage. Always have a growth mindset.
Well, one problem I have with BNI specifically is category exclusivity. It is, to me, short-sighted to allow one person in one line of business into the group. Here's why I say that. Synergy. If I'm in a group with 3 mortgage professionals, I learn from those mortgage professionals because they talk about what they do. They talk about who they are. They talk about their business. That, to me, is attractive. That's why you join the Mortgage Brokers Association in your state.
I was just going to say, that's why you join an organization for your industry.
So for me, category exclusivity is both a blessing and a curse in a BNI group, because the goal is to go there and get business leads.
I get that.
Right? I'm not there to get business leads when I'm in a BNI group. I'm there to give business leads because I'm a connector.
Well, that is the goal.
Right.
That is supposed to be the goal.
Right.
You're there to give referrals,
not
get them.
And while I'm giving referrals, I'm also interested in knowing how can this guy who's maybe in my line of work do things better. Right. And how can I do things better?
Right. And I think all that is just a separate thing.
Yeah, it's just a
and they have
group.
Those, like they have realtor associations and they have lender associations and they have where you can get together. But honestly, I've found those to be more social things. It's hard to find other people in your industry who want to connect and talk about business and grow each other's business. And I'll tell you what I've found.
Okay.
Why?
Okay.
Is It's because they don't have a growth mindset. They have a kind of a scarcity mindset, and they're afraid that if they give you any tips or tricks, or
you might steal them.
Yeah, they're going to give you. Why would I give you all my secrets?
Yeah.
And it's like I say, I can't give enough away.
You know,
I want to give it all away.
Yeah.
Why not?
And I feel very proud of the Tri-Cities mortgage community, because I would tell you everybody there is happy with what they're doing and happy with what you're doing.
Well, you would believe that whether they were or not, because you're an eternal optimist.
Well, I don't know anybody in that marketplace that I think is just a jerk.
Right.
That I wouldn't work with.
Again, you would never think that.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And you know, it
and
is,
that's a great place to have your mind in. That is a growth appropriate mindset.
Right.
Is believing. I remember having a conversation, believing everyone's doing their best. I'm going to tell you this story. I remember having a conversation with a couple of realtors when I was pretty new in the business.
Okay.
One of them was very frustrated about a deal that was going on, and very frustrated about the cross agent, right? The agent on the other side of the deal. And I said, man, you just got to believe everyone's doing their best. And this is what that realtor said to me. Well, you think that now. That's because you're new. You don't know. And I thought, no, I just think that.
Yeah.
Because it's a better space for my head to be in, to believe everyone's doing their best, than to believe anything else.
It's funny that you say that.
When I get really pissed off about a deal, and I get into that frustrated place, eventually, sometimes it takes me a little time, but eventually I will always pull my mindset back around to, listen, everybody's doing their best. Everybody wants to get this deal done. Nope. I have to remind myself, nobody gets paid until it's done. And that's one thing that I tell clients a lot when they start, it's easy to blame other people. It's easy to put the blame on other people who aren't in the room when you're sitting in front of a client and they're angry.
Right.
But don't do that. Do not do that. Protect your power team.
Yes.
That is in this deal.
That's exactly right.
Your business partners. Take responsibility for what you can. And then say things like, listen, I know everybody is doing the best they can at any given moment in this transaction. If for no other reason than none of us get paid till this is done.
That's exactly right.
And I know it's easy to point the finger and say it's, for instance, people love to blame the lender.
Yeah.
Right? Well, that lender, blah, blah, blah. We don't know that there aren't 8 people behind that lender, and one of those 8 people has pulled this issue, like an underwriter or something like that needs to be dealt with. You can't blame the lender. There's over 180 steps in the average real estate transaction. So I like to tell clients that up front, because a lot of hands touch this deal, and human error.
Right.
It happens.
Well, and maybe not even human error.
Exactly.
Maybe guidelines.
Yeah.
There is no lender that I know who wants a deal to fail.
No.
I've never met a lender who's like, well, boy, I sure hope this doesn't go through.
Man, it doesn't.
Do you know what I mean?
Even if it's not for the paycheck, it doesn't feel good to fail.
That's exactly right. But
it's people's lives you're dealing with.
Loans don't fail because lenders are careless. Loans fail because the guidelines aren't met.
Right.
That's why loans fail.
Right.
So, and I'm coming from a place where I don't really have sale fails as a lender.
Right.
I just don't.
Right.
If there's a problem that's catastrophic, we try to find the way around the catastrophe, right? And sometimes clients get really upset when you find the way around it, and it's much more expensive than they thought, right?
Right.
But if somebody has like a lien on a house that they're selling and they didn't realize that had to be paid at closing, then we might have a money shortfall. How do you work around that? That's the goal of a lender, to fix the problem, right? sometimes it's insurmountable. Sometimes somebody has a judgment that's not on their credit report that shows up last minute, and now we've got a $30,000 problem and no way to fix it.
Yeah, I mean,
that kind of thing can happen, and I guarantee you there's no lender sitting in their office thinking, man, this is awesome, everybody's screwed.
No, everyone I know, every business person I know, and I know we're focused on real estate right now, but
And
every
to be
business-
fair, people have asked us to do a real estate and lending podcast.
That's true.
But this is just one of the topics that we're talking about
Nobody
today.
I know doesn't care
Right.
about a deal closing.
That's exactly
And,
right.
I mean, you'd have to be pretty cold-hearted,
A sociopath. You have to be a sociopath and maybe even a serial killer
you know.
to think this is awesome that no one's going to get paid here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So if you're great at problem solving,
Mm-hmm.
you have a thick skin, and you love people,
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, real estate and lending, those are some good options for you.
And if you don't have all of those characteristics that Londa just mentioned, it is for sure not for you.
5 sure. It's, you know, it's tough. It's a tough industry.
Well, and it's a business. A lot of people forget that real estate and mortgage is a business.
But it's a business that you don't have control over so many aspects of it.
Well, that's true. But what I'm saying is, if you're in business, you're in business to be successful typically.
Well, I would hope so.
A lot of people who get into real estate and lending want to get rich quick or want to
Good luck.
make a ton of money, right? But they don't understand that you need to do the right thing to make money. You know, if you're a lender, you need to call on real estate agents. You have to, the end.
Right.
If you're not calling on real estate agents, there's nobody coming in the door.
Right.
And a lot of people that get into business, you were telling me a story today about a guy who was a financial planner, and he's no longer a financial planner. And if that's the case, it's because no one gave that guy the system to follow to be successful as a financial planner.
Or they gave him a system to follow,
And he said no.
he couldn't
Right.
or wouldn't
Right.
for whatever reason, because there were things in the system, pieces and parts of it, that he didn't know how to overcome.
Right.
And whoever was working with him didn't know how to help him overcome them.
That's exactly right. And that's why you're great at what you do, because you can go into any business, a new business, an old business, and you can help get people over the hump of
Right.
something like that.
Yeah, and like I was sharing earlier this morning, our ideal client is someone who is in business, already has some success, and wants to be even more successful, although we have and do rescue businesses that are, you know, on their way out the door. So, you know, we have the skill to do both,
Right.
but the ideal client's really someone who has some measure of success, or maybe they haven't had exactly the success. They're surviving,
Right.
but they know that they can be great. They
Right.
just don't quite know how to get there.
And that is the magic.
Yeah. And I know how to get there every time over the last 20 years. I don't think I've ever sat down with a client and had time with them that they did not have some kind of success going forward.
Right.
I can't think of a failure.
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
I love that. It's like finding your groove, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's been really, really fun for me to be here with you, to decide, let's do this thing.
Right.
Let's actually create a business together and go forward with it, because it is something I absolutely love, but I'm also really, really good at it.
Yeah. And it's, for me, really fun to be able to do the new media stuff, to do a podcast, to do a YouTube video, to do...
You're such a great visionary.
Well...
That's really, really exciting.
It's fun for me, right? And it reminds me of when I was a young kid in broadcasting, because
Right.
it truly is the Wild West.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like we are Amerigo Vespucci, and we are putting the maps together of the world. You know what I mean? It's all new.
Yeah.
And I love that. That is so exciting.
I know, you're spending all your downtime watching YouTube videos, learning about everything.
That's right.
You know what? I got to be honest, though. You're such a good trainer and coach in your own right that I would love to be able to just, hire James Harpster full time to come and be our video guy.
Well, he's expensive, and that's all I have to say about that. You know what I mean?
Well,
he needs
he's
60.
Growing a
he
family.
needs 60, and that's until this business is such a standalone business that we call our partners in Washington and say, hey, we're shutting this down. And believe me, we are not shutting it down.
No, we're not shutting anything
but
down.
Until
and
we're
never,
at that point,
actually.
until we're at that point,
I don't want to shut that down,
I
by
don't
the
either.
way. I want, the multiple streams.
And I have loved building my book of business over the last 20 years and do not want to say goodbye to any of my customers.
No, I know.
So there you go.
I know.
So I'll hang on forever. I had a customer call me 2 days ago, and she also commented on our live video the other day, planning for purchasing an investment home in the future.
Yeah.
Not, hey, David, I need to do a loan application today.
Right.
But I want to plan for the future.
Right.
I love that.
Well, and I know exactly who you're talking about, and it's been really fun for me because I'm often right next to you when you take those calls.
Right.
To listen to you, and I said listen to you talk to her over this last year and a half or whatever it's been, because when you got off the phone, I said it's like your aunt that calls you, and you just you just kind of coach her through the next step and the next step, and it's so fun because you care so much. She'll call and say, okay, I've got this much money in my savings.
Right.
And I'm and you just encourage her right along. And that's why people love you.
Well, and I was talking to a brand new realtor just the other day who just graduated from WSU, and she was asking me about the business and about me. And, I guess it's hard for me to say that I love my customers and I love my realtor partners, and it's a relationship thing for me. But she clearly picked up on that and was thrilled. So it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And thank God COVID allowed people to work from remote locations.
Right.
Because
Here we are.
For all of the time I've been a lender, I've had to be at my office at 8 a.m. and sitting there hoping someone would walk through the door, or making coffee appointments with realtors and going to lunch with realtors. But
Right.
I got to tell you, my reviews with customers have gotten better since I've been working remotely.
That's interesting.
It is interesting. And I think it's because I have more time to focus on work, because I'm, up at 5 a.m. in Florida. It's 2 a.m. in Washington. And I look at my email at 5 a.m.
He's not always up at 5.
You know what I mean, though.
No, I do.
So it's exciting that I'm able to be as productive as I am and only be there once a month.
Yeah.
What a cool deal that is.
Yeah. And when we're there, we're actually many times a little less productive.
Well,
because it's Old Home Week.
It's Old Home Week. So we're hugging, we're high fiving.
Your partners want to go play.
That's right, and and we want to go play with realtors that are friends of ours, and we want to go have drinks at Three Eyed Fish, and we want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's awesome, and that's a great part of the culture of the industry. But helping people with loans is really easy when you've got blinders on. You know what I mean?
I do.
So the fact that I can dedicate that time to doing loans and not have to be recruiting new agents and not have to be physically there to do that.
Right.
I'll never give that up.
The pandemic has really shifted the way that we think about things. We talked about that in a previous podcast, but I can't believe I'm still doing real estate in Washington when I'm in Florida.
Right.
And people are so confused about how I managed to do that. But, it wasn't, I pivoted early.
Right.
And just sat down and figured out how to do it. And I would say to any person who's in business, if you've got an obstacle, the best thing you can do besides hire us is to sit down and just spend time thinking. Okay, here's what I have to work with. How am I going to make it work?
Right.
And I spent a long time figuring out how to make it work. And, you know, I've got someone in Washington who opens doors for me.
Boots on the ground.
Yeah, my boots on the ground. Opens doors for me. And I get on FaceTime during a showing. I do most of the talking with the client. The realtor who I pay well to do this for me is you know, really just there to facilitate it. I couldn't do it without them.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
But they're facilitating it, and I'm talking to the client, and I'm, you know, having them show me. I make sure the realtor's, you know, showing me different aspects of the home or whatever. So that's how I do showings. They meet my client there, get me on FaceTime, and we walk through the whole showing together.
Right.
And then, you know, I'm still writing all the contracts. I'm still doing all the negotiations, but all of that is remote and paperless and all that. I don't know. It's just, we just figured out how to do it. And sometimes I have to stay up till 2 a.m. here. But
I have a good dad joke for you that I want to submit for your approval.
Okay.
What's the most productive tuber?
I don't know.
The facilitator.
Wow.
Facilitator.
We didn't even charge for that one, folks.
That was free.
That was free. That was free. And for listings, it's easy because I FaceTime or have the client send me photos, videos. I might have my boots on the ground, go out there and take a look at the property.
That's awesome.
But all the people, you know, my stager, my photographer, my house cleaners, my window cleaners, my landscape guys, all those people can go on site without me there. I don't have to be there.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And I'm very lucky, very, very lucky, 4-leaf clover lucky, that I have clients that have trusted me to do this for them remotely, because what your clients love relationship with you. What my clients love about me is my negotiation skills and my attention to detail in the contracts and my ability to see something through to the end, which is why I have a much higher than average closing ratio.
Right.
So, you know, I always say anybody can get something under contract, but not everybody can get it closed.
That's exactly right. And it's the same with lenders. You know, people that don't do well in lending are not problem solvers. That's the deal. If you're not a problem solver, you're not going to do well in lending, because problems arise on every deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There is no deal that's perfect.
You and I are both similar that way, in that we will chase it down until it's solved.
Right.
Or we will chase I just had to chase something down in real estate recently. And I mean, the number of emails and phone calls, and I just kept at it and kept at it and kept at it and kept at it, and finally, boom, got it done.
And you kind of have to.
You do.
And
your follow through has to be really good. If you know.
And if you don't, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
What a fun conversation today. You know, people have asked us to do a real estate and lending podcast. We didn't start this particular episode.
No, we're talking mostly about networking.
With that in mind, yes. Giver's gain is the most important philosophy that I think anybody can take away from this particular episode, even though it's not all we talked about.
Right.
If you are willing to lift other people up, you will be lifted up.
Sure.
A rising tide lifts all boats. I mean, there are several analogies you can use.
Absolutely. And Giver's Gain is a great book by Ivan Meisner.
That's exactly right. Ivan Meisner, who started BNI, Business Network International. There you go. You need to work on your application today, because you're joining this group here.
I'm going to apply.
There you go. Well, I think I don't mean to be cocky, but I think you'll make it. For Londa, Sherwood, Austin, my name is David Austin, and this has been The Session with Londa and David.